Look at that, everybody. You get a full extra 5 minutes at least.
What?
At least.
Lazy. Sorry
You
if we
believe?
scared you, Pope.
It's a bonus.
I hope we
bonus
scared Pope. Pope is hard to rattle.
And yeah, Pope rattles.
Mhm.
You gotta shake him, though.
And rolling.
He says, holy moly, you're early. Howdy, folks. Hello, folks. Claude's here. Hello. This is our little pre-funk where we just kind of hang out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yes, maybe we
music
are ostensibly calling this music.
of a sort, of a type.
Ugh. Hello there, Claude.
Jay Gray is here. Good to see you. Howdy, howdy to you. Claude says, abbreviating this episode as moo ma mo ra moo ma ma.
Moo mama ra ma ma.
Well, that would be our bad romance episode.
Crash it there just says, okay, Lady Gaga. Well, Jay Gray, even if it's only 30 minutes, it is 30 minutes well spent. We're glad that you're here. Hey, Robinson's 70s of Eminem love affairs. Squire, good to see you as well.
The 70s were tough for me romantically.
Wasn't that because you were, a toddler?
I didn't
Not
exist.
alive?
A Lady Gaga, Mutants
Zygote.
and Masterminds collab? Perhaps that's a thing we should think about. I'll
Mutants
get
and
on the phone with
Masterminds
other people.
I'm not wearing a meat costume, though.
Oh,
Not now, you're not, but
well, it's hard over the meat costume you already wear for the show.
never say never. Troy, I told you that our physical bodies are not meat costumes.
That's right. That's
Just
right.
because
I
you-
forget.
Just because
this.
you don't have one,
I forget. Thank you for the reminder.
You're making the humans nervous, Troy.
right?
Exactly. They're getting sweaty. Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Mutants and Masterminds Monday. This is your weekly award-worthy talk show where we connect with the developers behind your favorite superhero tabletop role-playing game, Mutants and Masterminds, published by Green Ronin Publishing. I'm your disembodied host, Troy. And won't you join me in welcoming two of my personal favorite heroes? It's Mutants Masterminds lead developer Alex Thomas and the creator of Mutants Masterminds some 20 odd years ago, Steve Kenson. Welcome to the show, everybody. Now, this was a subject that was trolling Troy. That's me, says Nate. This was a topic that came up. I don't remember. Was it us? Did we do it? Hey, Dan, good to see you. Glad you're here. Sorry, I'm having some issues with my brain and how it connects to my mouth. So who knows what's going to come out. But this was an idea that came from our planning episode that we did a couple shows back. One of our favorite things to do. And so, it could mean a lot of things. At first this morning, I was just sort of like, what are we talking about? Like how can we do this? And
Mm-hmm.
I came up with like 13 different ideas just off the top of my head. And I'm a noob. You two do this professionally. When it comes to Valentine's Day, I feel like until Mutants and Masterminds and thinking about things that we could do around, topics like this, the holiday was kind of a bust.
Right?
Really, truly. Let's see. Squire says 20 odd years ago. It was like 5 years ago that Eminem First Edition came out.
Now, I came out like 5 years ago. Eminem came out.
Just so folks are aware, too, Alex is getting over a cold. I'm getting over COVID. And Steve, of course, is getting over, I guess,
Being
the aging
immortal.
process. Because he looks like he's about, I don't know,
Getting
22.
over it.
The
Getting
existential
over his overhead.
ennui of eternity.
It
Exactly.
is tiresome.
Well, it seems we're really setting the mood for romance
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and adding romance to your M&M adventure. One of the things that I thought about that kind of struck me as a clever idea is it doesn't necessarily have to be your heroes dealing
Mhm.
with their relationships or their loves. I mean, because, there are a bunch of those kind of tropes, but you could also be just dealing with an environment of romance or an environment that is meant to be, sort of romantic or something like maybe you went to, who are the gods responsible for romance?
Well, there's Eros, and
Eros.
Mhm.
sometimes
Yeah.
known as Cupid if you live in an Italian part of the world.
Mhm.
Um, Aphrodite.
Yep.
Okay.
I can't think of a Norse god of love.
That'd probably be Freya.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And
Um,
so if you took
Bumble.
what was that? Who was that?
Bumble was a god of
Mumble?
love.
Oh. Nate Robbins says Fantasy Islands. That's a deep
Mm.
cut.
Mm.
Yeah, Freya.
Yep.
Like a mass marriage ceremony at an underground cult.
Nothing more
Okay.
romantic, really.
Been there.
Been there. Officiated that. Hathor for Egypt. Oh, I like that. Oh, like a pleasure planet. Okay. All right. Well, so I'm wondering if you're just kind of kicking off with settings, because then we can roll out with some other stuff. But what
Mhm.
talk to me about how what would be the reason to visit a god's world or a god's space to handle, I don't know, something romantic?
Well, I mean, either God has some power to deal with a situation that the heroes need, um, or the God is doing something that the heroes need them to stop, as
Please
the
stop
case
doing
may
that.
be. You know,
I like that. Also, like
some
I could see a
possibilities.
delivery too. You got to
Mhm.
get this
Sure.
thing that other people are like, you can't deliver that. Katash, okay. Egyptian mythology, known as the goddess of Congress, though
Mm-hmm.
almost never associated with fertility. Okay.
Hmm.
Turin is the Etruscan mythology goddess of love. Very interesting. Negotiate a wedding between pantheons to avert the end of times. Oh, wow. That's a
All
great
right.
idea.
You
Says
know,
Michael Mendoza.
you
Michael,
can
I
always
love that
have
idea.
a Trojan War style competition between the deities of love, to see who can arrange the greatest romantic pairing of all time. As far as that goes, I don't know what they win, but sometimes the gods just like to win things.
They love
Right.
bragging rights up there on Mount Olympus.
A lot of bragging rights, so
Mhm.
that's always a good possibility.
RC brings up a really good point. Whomst among us hasn't officiated a cult wedding?
Right.
Michael Mendoza, Trojan style, you say?
Mm.
The horse.
Yes, all the Trojans are very important on Valentine's, as you know.
Mhm.
They are. They indeed are. Um, let's see. John Polachek says in Alex's Pittsburgh Con adventure, we had to create a dating profile for Hephaestus to
Mhm.
complete the mission successfully.
Mm.
Yeah, Harris said, help my little Huffy Poo get a new date since Aphrodite left him," and
Hmm.
they
That is
successfully did
brilliant.
so.
Can't be brooding in his
How did
forge
you
the whole time,
architect
hanging out with his robots.
Hmm.
that? How did you architect that?
Just it was a skill challenge. So I asked the entire group, what can you do to contribute to Hephaestus's glow up and to help him to help him be a better match for people online. And
Hmm.
some of them were like, I use my expertise in mythology to find a suitable candidate that he might be interested to go on a date with, and they settled on Brigid, the goddess of the smith for Celtic mythology. And some of them were like, well, we take him out, we buy new clothes for him, and we razzle dazzle his profile. And one of the hacker characters was like, I'm going to go into the algorithm and make it so that he gets showed up more often on people's swipe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for people to come up with a lot of different ways to engage with that challenge using their skills and powers, which
There's
I
a
think is one of
whole
the best things we do.
hero eye for the mythic guy. Sort of a thing.
I love it. Let's see. This is party members are influenced by a certain outside parties that normally they would not be interested in, but they find it funny to use the heroes as their extensions to this romantic masquerade. Yeah.
I love romance in comic books.
Well,
you love say that again.
I said I love romance in comic books.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Like we observed, comic books are basically just soap operas with superpowers. So,
Right.
Romance is definitely one of the prime drivers of storylines and subplots and conflict, so far as that goes. Apuk talks about hero-villain romantic relationships and flirtations, always a comic book classic, so far as that goes.
Yeah, it sure is. I am reminded with a new feature. I want to share this real quick. For those of you who are looking for some, you want to read some romantic fiction, hero fiction on as we ramp up. Get yourself some of this. Look at this.
Ooh, fancy.
Hey, yeah. Bring your phone up there, read that QR code, and you will be getting yourself a free download of the Love Bites. Comes in 2 different ebooks, but check it out. Give it a download and read it aloud to the one you love.
Jonesy, I will defend the Wedding of Donna Troy issue of Teen Titans till the end of time, because any creative team that can do a double-sized comic book issue that features nobody in costume using their powers or fighting anyone and still tell a decent story is doing something right.
Yeah, and I want to also just sort of touch on this real quick. We're looking at, you want to observe all of the, the norms of consent, and you want to make sure that you're not, Gene Long says, as long as there's no mind control, that's not fair. I mean, control NPCs, not, and that's how you want to handle that. You don't want to, to put anybody in a position.
Mm-hmm. As with all things in your game, make sure to talk to your players before you spring it on them.
Right?
Yes, indeed.
And check what everybody is comfortable with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jonesy says right there with you, Steve.
One of the nice techniques I like that Joe Carricker taught me was talk to your players in advance. If you're going to include romance in your storylines, talk to your players in advance and have them cast their ideal romantic opposite for their character. Not necessarily like all of the details, but just what's their character's type? Who is the character that they will immediately be attracted to, so that you can introduce that character and they'll be like, oh, hello.
I like that.
And then Google that actor as a villain.
Right, ideally.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Mendoza says, I learned the hard way how awkward it can get when you spring a flirtatious NPC on a PC without approval. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And our friend Taryn Marine says, romances can be hard for certain characters. The Blue Alien Prince can easily find romance, but the super intelligent talking gorilla girl is going to have a hard time finding love, potentially.
But and that's, that makes that storyline all the more interesting.
It does. It does. And, and oftentimes it can be a fun exercise to turn the tables on characters who are normally sort of just so beautiful and so handsome or so whatever, that they go to a world where that hero that maybe is less about their looks and more about something else.
Sure. But Earth Ape and intelligent Gorilla Girl may be a
hot commodity.
10, and all of the tall hairless apes that she's with are just hideous. But
why did you all shave? That's so weird.
Right.
I'm playing an asexual teddy bear in our new podcast who is not a romantic, but it is tough being a teddy bear.
Yeah, that's a tough.
A lot of people don't appreciate how hard it is to be a teddy bear.
No, yeah, they really don't. Klutz says, "Romancing the Squatch" sounds like a literary classic. I'm with you there.
10 minutes in.
10 minutes in, yeah. TikTok. Let's see. Nate says, "Hey, I mean, I'm really a cat." Immediately had a guy that was in love with his adopted sister. So there you go. Okay. That's those are choices.
Sure.
I mean, The Flash did that too on the CW show.
It's true.
Right? Yeah. Not an unusual, I'm thinking Star Wars. I'm thinking
again soap opera plots.
Exactly.
Except we wear our spandex over our Spanx instead of regular clothes.
Right.
Right. I remember one of the ideas we had touched on. We've done so many of these shows, but I do recall one episode where we were talking about this kind of thing. We talked about sort of this fun speed dating idea, and how it introduces a villain and a hero in their sort of civilian garb. I thought that was kind of a clever idea.
Yeah,
I did that I did that in the Idiot Box. I had a Bachelor episode where the Arctic Fox was the Bachelor, and all of the superheroes were competing for his affection.
Awesome! I love that. So we've talked about. Are there any? One of the things too that I've kind of picked up on in our many years doing this is how much fun you can have with a mechanism that is about the environment. Like we were talking about, like the dating, or Alex, the notion of having to create a dating profile and to manage the digital footprint of somebody, which is, I think that's just hilarious. I'm curious if Chad has some other ideas specific to, because the storyline stuff, that's almost too easy. There's a lot of opportunities there, but looking at environment or mission based stuff, that might be a curious place to sort of unpack some stuff.
Yeah, I think you look at the different events that take place in romance. So you look at like a first date or a wedding or meeting the parents for the first time, and you have to duck out because of superhero stuff. Just looking at the regular sort of the humdrum events of a burgeoning romance, and then finding places that you can sneak superhero stuff in that can make it difficult for the hero to juggle both of their lives. Or you crank it up to 11 and have the like other parties all know about the superhero business, and that makes it even more difficult because of the nature of being a superhero. So like, what if your girlfriend's dad is a superhero who doesn't like your powers, or thinks you're not a good enough hero for his daughter?
Oh, interesting. So we have our let me see if I'm going to get this. Ranma Pat said, "I just ran an Earth Ape adventure with a hint of romance between a PC clone of Dr. Simeon and the Earth Ape equivalent of Seven."
There you go.
That's great.
Is Seven still the ape queen of the Netherworld in Earth Ape?
On Earth Ape?
It's a good question. Let's see. A really cool would be type of campaign would be used like the King Kong idea, where the kaiju falls in love with this, like the sister or the somebody closely related to one of the heroes that requires some assistance. I like that.
Jonesy's mentioning the regular stuff, like getting your ghost boyfriend a body so you can get married.
Right. Like you do.
Yeah, our upcoming season of Freedom Week Dark, Mortis and his boyfriend's wedding is one of the big plot points that we're going to go through. So I'm plotting out the wedding planning stuff and the bachelor party and just all sorts of bad things that could happen during the lead up to the wedding. And then maybe something bad will happen at the wedding. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Let's see. Klutz says, I made an NPC who's the villainous father of a PC's crush. A fun reveal and an opportunity for good tension. Oh, sure.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite moments in that first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie when Michael Keaton turns around with the gun in the car.
Is that scene in the limo?
Yeah. Oh my god. I swore out loud in the theater when he answered the door when he went to go pick her up for homecoming.
Yep. Should have seen that coming, and yet
did not see that coming.
Did not see it coming. Yeah.
Love that. Let's see. I'm looking at. Let's see how this. Oh, that's not going to work. I'm lying. I was going to. We were testing out some new features, and I haven't quite mastered all that stuff yet, but we soon will. Let's see. She-Hulk took on Star Fox's powers in court. Oh, you're talking about yes. Yeah. The She-Hulk the She-Hulk series. The She-Hulk series used some great storylines related to romance, dating sites, and how normal issues like toxic, manipulative people can ramp up to super levels. Yeah. Yes. I'm also reminded of what was it? The Jones. What was that series? Taking on the super strong woman who was a detective.
Jessica Jones.
Thank you. I was thinking Jenny Jones. No, that was like an old TV show from way back in the day. And her and that villain that could control people's minds and make them believe things. Yeah,
that is something you definitely want to talk to your players before including.
Most certainly, yeah.
Yes.
It's a great examination of the trauma of past relationships.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so when I brought in a new player, this is AJ, says when I brought in a new player, I had him play as the romantic interest of one of the current players, but the character was from another reality with permission, of course. Yeah, that's great.
Sure. Alex has demonstrated you can play around a lot of interesting things with parallel universes and characters' relationships. When a new character meets somebody and that character is their partner or their husband or their significant other in their previous life in another relationship, but the original character is dead and this new person doesn't know them.
That was a rude thing I did too.
That's a complicated relationship to sort out.
Pretty complicated, exactly. Nate says, let's talk about the different types of powers that could mask themselves as romantic intentions. So we're talking like kind of poison ivy-ish powers, or is that,
Well, there are definitely the, sort of emotion control, mind control, manipulative powers. And like Alex said, you want to step very carefully with that. That's a real consent issue and an area to check in with your players as far as that is, especially if it's going to be anything beyond just one encounter thing. That's a significant thing to play out, and players have got to be on board with that kind of thing.
Sinfulness is like Raven from Teen Titans.
I'd like to pull a crystal here and shout out Mystery Inc., the cartoon that had an episode where Aphrodite showed up and everybody except for Scooby fell in love with everybody else. And Scooby had to solve the problem by himself. It was a very interesting, the gang had these feelings that they were trying to grapple with, and being forced into a situation where they had to really face them was an interesting complication for the show, I think.
Right. And for a group of players who are down with that and can play it, it can be a really interesting story. But you just got to make sure that everybody is on board for something like that. Because otherwise it can also get super awkward.
Yeah.
Oranon says, what did I miss? Oranon, we've just been sitting here in silence waiting for you to arrive. So I'm so glad that you were here because I refused. I just literally refused to let anyone log off the chat.
Yeah.
We've just been sitting here quietly. So
that was a cool flip that Steve did, though.
Right? You can go back and look at it later.
Nice. Jonesy also adds, complication it's complicated. Yeah, where is that bingo card? I should have it up and ready to roll. A villain who can morph into someone a player is attracted to. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that, I could see also somebody, maybe a series of infiltrators trying to gather intel or create a distraction where they all kind of sneak into people's lives and become their partners, or
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Or even a hero who's insecure about their appearance, who has shape-shifting abilities and refuses to show the rest of the group what they actually
What they
look like.
really look like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, interesting. RC says, I feel like chat, what did I miss? Should be a space on the card. I agree. I agree with you 100%. Okay, so yeah. Jonesy says a secret invasion. You bet. Yeah, I think that would be super, super interesting. Or a world where, maybe superhumans have become immune, or are immune to something that is affecting the normies. The NPCs are all acting quite amorous. Pope says, I'm so upset I didn't think of that shapeshifter with low self-esteem idea. Consider that stolen, Alex.
It's not my idea. Feel free.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We steal your ideas all the time, friends.
Yeah, I got it from Young Justice, like Apuk mentioned.
Yeah, it's been around.
I like that. That's a neat bit of character I'd never considered for a hero's civilian identity. Someone who goes on a lot of blind dates, says Claude. Sure.
Sure.
Did anyone watch the Harley Quinn Valentine special? RC asks.
Not yet, but it's on my list of things to do once I'm feeling better.
What's it on?
It's on HBO Max.
HBO Max.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm writing a Harley Quinn musical adventure for a convention I'm going to in April.
I cannot wait to see the outcome of that.
Yeah, Harley's mad that Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote a musical for the Joker that did really well, so she's planning to kidnap Andrew Lloyd Webber to write a better musical for her.
Well, sure.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sean Holland says, or vice versa, the supers are all in love and the normals have to save the day. That is kind of fun. That may be a fun way to showcase, or, maybe if it's all of the main heroes of your, regular adventuring are tied up, and it's a great excuse to bring in the B team.
Yep.
I love any adventure where you get to play the NPCs in the superhero's life. Like that's just one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite campaign tropes.
Nate Robbins says, "When are Rogue and Gambit ever going to get a break?" Yeah, the newlywed couple just got back from their bust of an intergalactic honeymoon when they were whisked away to the Mojoverse by the spineless one.
Oh, I hate the Mojoverse.
Yeah,
that's a bad place.
Yeah.
I agree that characters in long-term relationships are interesting. I've always liked superhero characters, especially who are married, and are again, comic books are soap operas, so it's always nobody's relationship gets to be perfect all the time because it introduces drama. But I do think characters in long-term, relatively stable relationships are interesting, and are a lot of fun to build on.
Yeah,
I love that idea. We joke all the time that the necromancer and his ghost boyfriend is the most stable relationship in our universe.
Interesting enough, in kind of doing some research, and Jonesy shared a link with me earlier today, Devilish Duos, Strange Attractors by Vigilance Press.
Yes.
Which is, it is a super supplement from Vigilance Press, published through the Powered by M&M license. Super fun. Yeah. So this is, I'm going to actually just share the screen real quick, but I like this. Make it a little easier to read. It's pretty small. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Here's the link in chat. Check that out. Amp and Rail are lovers on the outs. Will one of them be attracted to one of your heroes? Will jealousy rear its ugly head? What happens when a lover's quarrel is powered by superhuman strength or mutant powers? Find out with Strange Attractors. I like that. Some image files. We've got some good stuff.
Hanover, you're right in that, like we're saying, comic books are all about soap opera drama. So they tend to focus more on breakups than successful
Mhm.
relationships, or characters in the first flush of a new relationship, rather
Yeah.
than, who have settled into a stable long-term relationship, because, that's not dramatic enough,
Yeah.
for
One of
most
my
purposes.
one of my least favorite romance tropes in comics is like the will they won't they characters who get together and then the universe gets reset and then they're not together
Hmm.
anymore. Or it was a dream, or it was I hate
Right,
that. I hate it so
right,
much where they play with our emotions and then they set things back to the status quo.
right. Or there's something that just has to force them apart. They can't
Hmm.
be together.
Oh, that'd be an interesting play of sort of just you've like the heroes have had it. These two are going to get together in this,
Hmm.
and then they go through all of the
I,
various permutations until they make it work. I
I
like
I
that.
do think that Alex's notion with giving Hephaestus a dating profile would be a really fun plot just to do with a player character, that the rest of the group has decided they are just going to find them a date.
Yeah, yeah.
At some
Hmm.
point they're going to play matchmaker and they are just going to set them up.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
that's right. Hanover says, yeah. The heroes and villains are sick of it, so they devise a
Uh,
plan.
Especially if you play the trope from Astro City, where the superheroes decide that Samaritan needs a date, and not only that, but they are also going to take care of all of the crime, that night, so he is not distracted, and he and Winged Victory can go out on a date and just enjoy it without having to respond to every crisis that's
Right.
happening.
Raymond brings this up. Imagine a
What's up?
newly single super with kids that have powers trying to work out how to
How to
date
date
again
it.
and the kind of babysitter they would need. I could see a
Yep.
whole like um what is it? Oops, we killed the babysitter or whatever. Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. Like, maybe the babysitter is just like hustling to try to figure something out.
Yep.
And he kind of reminds me a little bit of Jack, kind of that
Hmm.
sort of from
Oh,
Yep. That's
yeah, trying
that's
to babysit this terrible monster of a power kid who's a
hmm
sweet kid,
that's
but
why you
just
always hire an old witch in her haunted house to be your governess.
hmm
right.
You know,
oh,
she's on
I
top of
love
it,
Agatha so much.
right? What's
Agatha's
there
such
not
a
to
good
love?
character.
I mean, one of the best bits of the Fantastic Four was this whole notion of, well, our kid has mutant, world crushing mutant powers. I guess we're going to hire Endora from Bewitched to be his
Right.
nanny.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, exactly. The Incredibles 3 plot.
greatest.
Yeah, exactly. Or that kid has super parents and the kid ends up the villain. Okay, sure.
Sure,
Dan recommends. Yeah,
a
yeah.
little dark, but yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the Incredibles did leave their baby with a murderer, so it's fine.
Well, that's true. I mean, they didn't intend to.
I will never forgive Edna Mode for killing all those superheroes with those capes.
Really, honestly, we
Velcro
bring Edna up a
exists,
lot.
Edna.
Right?
Yeah.
Breakaway capes.
Let's see. Hanover. Oh, let's see. I'm sorry. I'm reading this. Let's see. Raising Dion has a great short
Mm,
turn TV series about a single mom and her
yep.
powered toddler living in the inner city. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teen hormones is one of my favorite tropes about hero high games or any teen hero game.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about that a little bit. How do you build around that?
Just find players who are really into that, and they will do all the work for you.
Pretty much. Pretty
I
much.
like
And
that.
you can play around with the usual teenage issues of our bodies are changing thing with, and our superpowers are a little out of control.
Oh, thanks. Apook has dropped a link to the original Raisin Dion short. We'll have to check that out. Wholesome parents who brags about their child's art or talks about the series they're watching and with their partner to the other heroes. Sure. And that's the other thing too. I mean, one of the things that I like about, we definitely in the hero world in
Hmm.
superhero legend and lore, there's a ton of like earth bending, reality cracking, universe destroying moments. Valentine's is one of those moments where you could actually, it can be light and it can be fun and it can be, people can
Absolutely.
win and not sort of, win, half win.
Yeah. John, when we were talking about love deities, I was also thinking about the notion when Quirk decides that he's going to play Cupid. You probably in the most, just awkward, like ham-fisted ways, where it's just like, I'm going to, set up this perfect scenario and throw you together, because I understand how this whole Valentine's thing works.
Right. Oh, Stan.
It's like the superpowered version of the 8-year-old who thinks that he can get two adults that he likes to fall in love.
Mm-hmm. Quirk turns the entire world into the little chapel from Las Vegas.
Right. It's
It's
raining
right.
rose petals everywhere.
There's 100 Elvis priests for some reason.
Right.
You try to leave the chapel and you just enter another version of the chapel. Stan says, how one's voice cracks at a certain age. It really sucks when your power blast starts to act the same way.
Yeah, you think teenage awkwardness is bad. Just imagine when you can also, bench press a truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. The Parent Trap, but with powers. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be really cool. That'd be a fun adventure story.
It really would be. It could be, that, and whether it is you're playing a bunch of young people trying to get, maybe you're setting up one of your teachers at, in the Hero High World or space, or the same thing could happen. I definitely like the idea of the super Parent Trap. Yeah, of having your super. Wanting to set them up with someone whom you think is a normie and turns out to be someone else altogether.
Right. How did we know that they were a super villain?
Yeah.
I want to see Jonathan Kent and Damian Wayne do that to Batman.
Right.
All right. Let's see. A lot of fun media where kids get to fulfill their wishes. Imagine a few hundred kids had Cupid's arrows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. Like they stole, like maybe some supers or they somehow came across Cupid's equipment.
I think Sean might have notes about the adventure I'm running on Saturday. I'm going to go check my computer for bugs real quick.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's
although the most comic book thing ever happened in my mythological research about Eros.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, in mythology, there is an Ant-Eros who is the anti-Cupid.
Yes.
And I had no idea that, and that's his name, is Ant-Eros.
Ant-Eros.
Oh,
he's anti-love.
Yep.
And if that's not a supervillain story, I've never heard of a supervillain story.
No, and if someone doesn't make the joke of his name being Stu,
he's got his own archenemy.
Stupid instead of Cupid. Get it?
Ant-Eros.
Ant-Eros. I like that. Hey, that reminds me, seeing Wiki post, we want to thank everybody for your flexibility for Saturday. Alex was under the weather. I was feeling COVID-y. We're both on the mend, but we're going to do the same thing on Saturday, this coming Saturday.
Yes. And I hopefully will be relieved of my toddler germs.
Yeah. Yeah, you were attacked by a bunch of toddlers. Minding your own business.
Yep. They're notorious carriers of disease.
And violence. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Heroes on the Verge of Divorce, like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable, having to rekindle the romance. Thanks, RC. RC says, glad to hear you're feeling better, guys. We are.
Yes. Like 90% better.
Now, that particular event that we're talking about for this coming Saturday, it'll be broadcast live. The folks that are participating, they're members of the Patreon. That's patreon.com/mutants Masterminds, and you will be able to see, because I went ahead, just because I like to share info with the world. You can read all about it on our Patreon, and check the characters out, because they're all sort of a version. They're a bow being. I'll drop a link to the Patreon post, which is live and open for the public to look at. And while some of those folks, we have a couple folks who aren't going to be able to join us for this coming Saturday. We may recast them, but you've got Archer, Bo Peep, Bowman Prime, Bow Mouse, Manbo, Boneman, and the Black Bowman.
I'm very pleased with how all these characters turned out.
RC says, "Thank you, RC. You know how to flatter a disembodied pal, because I did have a lot of fun with this particular logo."
Mm-hmm.
Bloop, and you can see it's pulsing. Super
Sorry,
fun.
Wiki.
Yeah. Good stuff, and that should be a lot of fun. That'll be 2 p.m. Next Saturday. Is coming
2 p.m. Pacific. Yes.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Pacific. Thank you. Right, I always forget that you're not all living here on the best coast.
We're not all so blessed, Troy.
I'm not living on any coast. I'm living in the middle.
Yeah, Wiki did say Manbo is very upsetting, by the way. Manbo, a terrifying fusion of a man and a bow who defied
work
Omega.
is done here.
Yeah.
My work is done here. Look, Batman has a man bat. It made sense to me that Bowman would have a man bow.
I mean, it's just science.
Let's see. It is just science. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Mendoza says, I appreciate the Black Lightning show featured a relationship between married adults, especially on a network that skews towards a young viewership. Yeah.
Yes. The family dynamics on Black Lightning are honestly great.
Mm-hmm.
Jonesy asks, Himbo?
That's just Bowman Prime.
Right. Pretty much.
Correct. Sean asks, mentions on the quirk theme, what if a group of extra planar powers have a bet about who can get a couple together first? And of course, they keep sending trouble and monsters to mess up the other couples.
There's nothing worse than a bunch of cosmic beings who have a bet going.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Back to the gods.
I love, too, how that can be sort of a reveal. Like, why do these things keep happening? Wait a minute, I'm seeing
why is all this weird stuff happening?
Yeah.
I like the idea that the pact doesn't cover romance, so that's how gods are able to influence mortals in Earth Prime.
Is that true, or are we making that is that canon? Can be
now.
Sure. Yeah, it's a loophole. Yeah. There's the fine print. I see it right now.
Look, gods love loopholes. That's their favorite thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Never met an agreement they couldn't wiggle their way out of.
Jonesy, Olivia Newton-John, twist of fate plot. Rest in peace, Olivia Newton-John. Let's see. RC says, oh, good. I get to be Claude's edgy former partner. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Michael Mendoza says headcanon is the best canon. It sure is.
That's true.
Don't get all bogged down by rules.
Yeah, Earth Prime belongs to all of us.
Rules.
Canon can be whatever you want it to be.
Exactly. The wonder of the Mutants and Masterminds multiverse is your universe can be whatever you want it to be.
And that's the truth. So we've talked a little bit about environments. We talked about some really great ideas on plot and how to kind of get your heroes into a spot where they've got to, use love, find love, make love. Well, I'm not make love, like, I mean, like making as in creating, not, whatever.
Damn it,
romantic. His headcanon a friend of Manbo.
I think it's clearly a nemesis.
Clearly. Headcanon would be a great character. I'm certain there's a character out there in the world.
Right.
There's not, we're making one.
It says No Ordinary Family, a short-lived series, sadly had a great family dealing with powers. But yeah, about Chicka Wow Wow.
Headcanon sounds like a Transformers villain.
Hey, listen, RC, we don't sell rule books. We sell platforms on which rules can be broken. Not even going to take the bait on that one. Ron Muffet. That's for the costume episode. Yes, indeed. So, of course, folks, when you're watching this, it takes a few hours actually for the live chat to appear on the video when you watch it in review. And so, if you're watching and you're like, who are they talking to? Just know that's what happens. It takes a minute or two for our closed captioning, to pop up and all that good stuff, but it's there, and you don't want to miss what's going on in chat. Well, sometimes we do, but it's there nonetheless. So we do appreciate that. Now, Michael Mendoza, does headcanon have a subconscious cosmic power to turn unsubstantiated theories into reality?
Nope. Just has a lot of unsubstantiated theories.
That's right.
They don't go anywhere.
If he does, I want him to meet Peacemaker, because Peacemaker had a lot of theories about the other heroes in the DC universe.
It's true.
Yeah. Other thoughts on words to the wise or clever sort of things to consider as people are adding, elements of romance and surprise and that kind of stuff into their games?
I think the most important thing is to make sure that that's what your players want from the story. Because most players, a lot of players are interested in having some element of romance in their superhero game, but other people aren't as comfortable with it. So you want to make sure to check in with them and go to the level that they want you to go to. Or if that's out of your comfort zone, tell them that that's out of your comfort zone and work together, because you want the story to be what it is for everybody, not just you or not just any one particular player.
Yeah. And also be prepared, even if they've agreed to the thing and then in the midst of it, it's not working. They're not feeling it.
Be prepared to pull the plug.
Yeah, in my experience, much like in real life, the romance you're not expecting is the one that turns out the best.
That is often true.
Yeah, I like that. Absolutely.
I think the other thing to think about in terms of romance is just the general notion of different levels of plot in your adventures and in your game. Whether or not a lot of what we've been talking about is the notion of romantic plots as sort of the A plot, as the focus of the adventure. But you can also do a lot of romantic subplots that involve characters that are just ongoing things that you include in your game, but they're not the focus of the game, but they're tied to one of your hero's complications, or they're a particular subplot that plays out in little small segments in the game. That can also be a good way to balance things if some of your players are interested in a romantic plot and others aren't, and they want different subplots for their characters, so everybody can have something going on that their character is interested in or involved in that's happening outside of the main plot line, but it isn't all focused on something that some players are into and some players aren't.
Absolutely. And Oranon brings up the consenting gaming forum checklist, and I'm going to drop that link. It helps a great deal.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing, just as a word of warning from me, you will only ever get to betray your party with a romantic partner once, so make it count.
Yep. So make it count. Right.
Yeah, because they will never trust you again.
Right, exactly.
Your girlfriend betray them.
Right, because after that, they will never trust you again. And rightly so.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You got to find new and creative ways to cause
We have
that
a
grief.
Sophie is the worst t-shirt over at the Untold Stories Project because of what I did.
Awesome. Let's see. And I just want to say that for some reason, chat reset for us. I'm not sure if you saw that, gents, but
it's still up for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got chat working, but all of the other chat is gone away.
But, Hanover Fist mentions talking about how Blue Rose is very romance relationship based. Any tricks or mechanics there that might be useful for M&M. And I really like the bond mechanic in Blue Rose that has a numeric way of quantifying the strength of a relationship or
Yeah.
the effect that the relationship has on a given character.
Yeah, I mean, and you could definitely play around with that idea in Mutants and Masterminds, both from the perspective of relationships as complications that award the character hero points, and even just the notion of sort of relationship connected advantages and the like that reflect the character's strength of their relationship or their focus on that relationship.
Yeah, don't be afraid to give circumstance bonuses to players who are rolling for
Mhm.
people that they're familiar with, either romantically or in a nemesis sort of capacity. That's another good way to
Yep.
build mechanically a relationship between two characters.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Go ahead.
Dan mentioned the notion of love and romance as a motivator for NPCs as well. A lot of the great sort of tragic villain figures or antagonist figures are the ones who are looking to save their true love in one fashion or another. I think that the Batman animated series did a great job with Mr. Freeze as a character who was lovelorn and trying to save his wife's life, but that whole thing drove him into becoming a supervillain.
RC brings up a very romantic notion in that he is going to figure out a way to convert his relationship to a blue rose score and present that to his girlfriend tomorrow.
Just let me know where to send flowers, RC. Or in lieu of flowers, where you want your charitable donation.
Right.
If that mathematic expression is not realized in, I would say, pounds of chocolate or roses or, that kind of thing, maybe it'll be interesting.
Could be a great Valentine's Day present.
Right?
Let's see how it works out,
you.
Cotton.
I love you 5.
That's a lot in Blue Rose.
Mm-hmm. Right, it is. It is. Although, it begs the question of why it's not a 6.
That is very true. And Hanover, I think you're right. I think that that RJ should also make a list of her faults.
Because there's nothing that says romance like constructive criticism.
Absolutely.
This is why we only give medical or legal advice, not romantic advice.
That is right. That is absolutely right. And of course, that being said, if you're sitting there and you're hanging out and you're like, I've got this, we love to arbitrate. If there's a decision that needs to be sort of figured out, or something that you are as a GM trying to sort, or maybe you're creating a villain or whatever it is, you can send a note to let'splayatgreenornean.com and we will respond. And then of course, any medical advice or legal advice, you find yourself in some legal trouble. We absolutely are not doctors, nor are we lawyers, nor do we even play, but we are, we're opinionated. So
I play a doctor on a podcast now.
Oh, all right then.
Oh, hey,
he is a teddy bear, but he is a doctor.
He's a Dr. Teddy Bear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is he a doctor to other teddy bears, or is
he was a doctor to a little girl, and the reason he is able to do medical stuff is because she believed enough that he was capable of medicine.
That is exactly the reason why we can give medical and legal advice, because we believe enough.
Right. Because that's exactly how that works.
That's exactly how that works. Yeah. Sean, flaws, quirks, complications. Yeah, exactly. That reminds me of I don't know if everyone saw our sheet of Valentines that we've made for you. One of them is Valentine, you are my favorite complication. I like that. Squire says, wasn't there a Robin comic where he was carrying a package all over fighting crime and trying to keep it safe, and it was a cake for his boyfriend? Maybe that was a Pride comic. That could have been an adventure.
It was one of the DC Pride issues. And
I love that,
cake, man.
Or my preference is bird-themed gentleman.
Right?
Thief.
I was exactly thinking the same thing. We're in agreement on that. Bird-themed gentleman thief definitely wins that one.
Let's see. What are we talking about? I think I saw Oranon said decide for me, right? Wasn't that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Which character do I draw next? Time-based speedster, which I think is Tachyon, or bird-themed gentleman thief?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
Or
choice is pretty clear.
I'm with you. I'm with you on the bird-themed gentleman thief.
Right.
A marriage
Time it
counselor
is.
for supers. That would be a great
That
NPC.
would be an interesting NPC.
Any therapist
Oh.
with supers is fun.
Yeah, Michael Mendoza
Especially
says
if they're not evil.
a marriage counselor for supers would be an interesting NPC. Yeah, how and what just an exhausting day, and just like what
Right.
happens when that marriage counselor decides, I'm done, I've had it.
Right.
You know, and your team has got to try to talk them back and talk them into, you know, getting back into the saddle because, you know, our friends need you.
I imagine the counselor has like Fantastic Fridays and it's just for Reed Richards.
Right. You know, I wish Reed would get some therapy.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely in need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nicole says, reminds me of those Dr. Blink comics, Therapist for Supers.
Dr. Blink, Superhero Shrink.
Dr. Blink, Superhero Shrink. Oh, I like that. So RC is asking, can patrons get some therapy counseling mechanics?
What do you roll to get rid of your complications? That's a good question.
Or they go villain and use all their secrets to ruin every super relationship in the city, says Hanover Fist. I like that idea, actually. Yeah. If I can't have love.
Yeah. I think even better than the therapist turning out to be a villain is the therapist getting kidnapped by a villain. Because they think they can get all of the hero's secrets out of them.
Right. Oh, how funny. And then the therapist ends up, you know, in a deep therapy moment, extended therapy moment with the villain.
Yeah, the best part is after, you know, the whole process of it, like doing the investigation and finally tracking them down, they find the therapist deep in a session with the villain, confronting, you know, their inner childhood trauma.
Right.
That feels like an awesome one-on-one adventure for a GM and a player.
The therapist being like, can you just give us another 15 minutes? Our session's not quite over yet.
Dan, can I roll to cure my anxiety with the super short? Yeah, I wish I could too. Let's see. Oh, yeah. RC says, ooh, that's a great idea for a story, Steve. The villain's in tears. Yeah, exactly.
If it helps with your therapy, you can kidnap me next week, or we can have the session at my office.
Right.
Wherever you're most comfortable. I also do telehealth.
Exactly. Let's see. Dan says, I actually read a Teen Wolf fanfic about the main character's therapist gets captured for that exact reason, and she ends up outsmarting the villain. Yeah.
Yep.
What about a villain who absorbs love to power a doomsday device?
Ooh, the dreaded love bomb. Yes.
That's great. We can call it love language. I like it. Roll for insurance claim, says RC. Oof.
Everything should be at home in Megamind. Megamind, I am so upset that Megamind didn't do as well as Despicable Me.
Yeah, Megamind is greatly underappreciated.
I really enjoyed it. I don't know. Why don't you think it was the hit it ought to have been?
I don't know. It was too smart, I guess.
Yeah.
Or Phineas and Ferb, says Oranon. Yeah. Yeah, super fun. So as we're getting, you know, it's the waning moments of the program. I can't believe it already, and we gave everybody 5 bonus minutes.
I know, right?
It's true. Yeah, which is just a shock. But that we got here early enough to give you 5 minutes is the shock. But I shouldn't be shocked by the fact that we're almost out of time. But I want to know. Let's start with you, Steve. Do you have anything cooking? Anything that folks ought to know?
Well, Gene just asked about the next astonishing adventure. And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, that Menace on Mystery Mountain should be available quite soon.
Yeah, I think in the next week or two.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly which day.
It's been handed into the mystery machine that is our operations department. And so once that happens, once we put it into that slot, we don't really know what happens on that side.
I can tell you.
But
yeah, we put it in the little mystery machine slot, and then it comes in, and then a bunch of you hear a bunch of beep beep.
Right, there's a lot of beeping and booping,
shredding noises.
That's actually
hammering.
The space that Troy lives in at the office.
That's right. Yeah, hammering. There's some sawing, and then and that's just the PDF machine, and then
Right.
But yeah, Menace on Mystery Mountain is up next, and we like to do those things around Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
From Umamo's sake, and to be able to do a fun superhero themed Monday for everybody. So
Indeed.
yeah, stay tuned for that. That's coming. And what else do you have cooking, Steve? Like, what's on your creative plate?
Let's see. What am I working on now? I have got some Fantasy Age stuff going on, as well as working on the updates on. Well, I finished up my list of noir updates for the Patreon, and I have moved on to my Hero High list of updates for the Patreon. And let me tell you, revisiting those Hero High PDFs is a real blast from the past.
Yeah, how old are they?
Oh gosh, they must be a good well, they're second edition, so they must be a good 10 years, 12 years old at this point.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. And then anything going on in the Steve Kenson, in the Kenson universe?
Not at the moment. I just finished up a short freelance project that I can't talk about, but
Cool.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
RC, I did some running roundtables for the website for 5th season as well, giving folks a little look inside some of the game system stuff that's not covered in the quick start. So there's a few more of those in the pipeline as well.
That's right. And that, of course, 5th season being the 5th Seeing role-playing game, which is funding right now. We are so close to 150. Dropping the link in the chat, but we're at 148, 822 with 1,800 backers and 10 days left. We have blown through and added some phenomenal stretch goals. Up next is that comm creation folio. That's at 150. And so if you if you have not had a chance, you do want to check out the 5th season role-playing game, of course, based on N.K. Jemison's award-winning Broken Earth trilogy. And it's phenomenal, but only 10 days. So time is ticking, which means you better start macking and getting there. Make sure you've picked up the things that you want, because the clock is running out. Alex, what have you got cooking?
Well, I am almost finished with a Blue Rose project I've been working on. Finally, almost. I've been doing some freelance stuff. I have been doing some of the setting work for Vigilante's Handbook, and I'm very pleased with how that's been coming along. We did our first recording for our new Hero High podcast last weekend, so that'll be coming out pretty soon, in which I play Teddy Bear, Dr. Jekyll, and Mr. Hyde. I'm very excited about that.
Right on.
I also have a crowdfunder coming up pretty soon for my first ever comic book. So I'll share information with that when it's ready with everybody. And I will hopefully have the final draft, the second draft of my second novel finished on Friday. So we'll see how that all shakes out this week.
Fantastic. That's quite a bit of stuff. For us, next Mutants and Masterminds Monday, we are going to be talking about mystery. It's the Mutants and Masterminds Mystery Session, which was an idea from one of our chat participants, Dominic. And we are, thank you, Sean, for stopping by. Always good to see you. I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out. You are truly a delight. And Vigilante's Handbook mention, RC says, hey, friends, thank you again for hanging out with us. Mutants and Masterminds Monday comes to you every week. It is our, it's our award-worthy, I almost said winning, not yet. Close. Very close.
Award-worthy is a great description.
Award-worthy is, we get to hang out with Steve and Alex. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Always a complete pleasure. Friends in chat, make sure you go check out that 5th season.
That's right.
The next level of our open up that the comms folio, which I'm very, very excited about. We'll see you. Hey, don't forget to stop by this Thursday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern for Thursday. It's everything about the Age adventure game engine. So a lot of good stuff. Should be a lot of fun. Take care. See you soon.
And Saturday for the actual play.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. Tune in Saturday. You'll see some ads and updates coming up for the actual play with Alex and our friends from the Patreon, which you can find out more about at patreon.com/mutantsandmasterminds. For now, goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.